Wave 1. Marley's Ghost. Marley was dead, to begin with. There was no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge had signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Marley and he were partners for I don't know how many years. Marley was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary legatee, his sole friend, and sole mourner. But even Scrooge was not so dreadfully cut up by the sad event, but that he was an excellent man of business, and even on the day of the funeral, he solemnized it with an undoubted bargain. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood above the warehouse door years afterwards. Scrooge and Marley. Scrooge. Hard and sharp as flint. Secret, self-contained, and as solitary as an oyster. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, Christmas Eve, old Scrooge was sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather. Scrooge had a small fire, but the clerk's fire was so very much smaller that it looked like one coal. Scrooge was just checking that the clerk didn't dare take any more fuel when...
Merry Christmas, Uncle. God bless you.
Bah! Humbug! Why Merry Christmas? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Oh, no, Uncle. Don't be angry. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
Of course I'm angry. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills with no money? A time for finding yourself a year older but not an hour richer. So leave me alone. Much good it may do you. Much good it has ever done you.
I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time. The only time I know of when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely and to think of people below them as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave, and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good, and will do me good. And I say, God bless it.
Nonsense. Good afternoon. His nephew left the room, and two other people got in. They were charity workers. Pleasant to behold, and now with their hats off, in Scrooge's office.
Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley died 7 years ago this very night.
Oh. We have no doubt his liberality is well represented by his surviving partner.
At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute who suffer greatly at the present time.
Are there no prisons or workhouses they can go?
Many can't go there, and many would rather die.
If they would rather die, they'd better get on and do it, and decrease the surplus population. Now, excuse me. The charity collectors withdrew. Scrooge resumed his labours with an improved opinion of himself, and in a more facetious temper than was usual for him. The owner of one scant young nose, gnawed and mumbled by the hungry cold, as bones are gnawed by dogs, stooped down at Scrooge's keyhole to regale him with a Christmas carol. But at the first sound of... Scrooge seized the ruler with such energy of action that the singer fled in terror. At length, the hour of shutting up the counting house arrived, and with an ill-willed Scrooge dismounted from his stool and tacitly admitted the fact to the expectant clerk in the tank, who instantly snuffed out his candle and put on his hat. "You'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose."
If quite convenient, sir.
"It's not convenient, and it's not fair. I pay a day's wages for no work."
It's only once a year, sir.
What a ridiculous excuse. Be here all the earlier next morning. Scrooge took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book, went home to bed. When he arrived in front of the door, a strange thing happened. Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except it was very large. It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen it night and morning during his whole residence in that place. Also that Scrooge had as little of what is called fancy about him than any man in the City of London, including the corporation, alderman, and livery. Let it also be borne that Scrooge had not bestowed one thought on Marley since his last mention of his 7 years dead partner that afternoon. And then let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker, without its undergoing any intermediate process of change, not a knocker, but Marley's face. As Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. To say that he was not startled, or that his blood was not conscious of a terrible sensation to which he had been a stranger from infancy, would be untrue. He recovered, however. He closed the door. He locked himself in. He took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown and slippers, and his nightcap, and sat down before the fire to take his gruel. The fireplace was an old one, built by some Dutch merchant long ago, and paved all around with quaint Dutch tiles designed to illustrate the scriptures. There were Cains and Abels, Pharaoh's daughters, queens of Sheba, angelic messengers descending through the air on clouds like feather beds, Abrahams, Balthazars, apostles putting off to sea in butterboats, hundreds of figures to attract his thoughts, and yet that face of Marley, 7 years dead, came like the ancient prophet's rod and swallowed up the whole. Humbug! It's humbug. Still, I won't believe it. But his colour changed when, without a pause, it came on through the heavy door and passed into the room before his eyes. The same face, the very same Marley, in his pigtail, usual waistcoat, tights, and boots. Well now, who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Jacob Marley? Why are spirits coming to me?
Every man must do good to other men. If not, after his death, his spirit is condemned to walk through the world and see what happened to the people that he did not help. I limited my life to my office. And now I have a long journey before me.
But you were always a good businessman, Jacob.
Oh, business! Charity and mercy are the real business. Listen to me. This is the chain I made in my life. You are wearing a chain too heavier than mine. I'm here to warn you. 3 spirits will visit you. Without their visit, you cannot escape your destiny.
Stave 2, the first of the 3 spirits. When Scrooge awoke, to his great astonishment, the heavy bell went from 6 to 7, and from 7 to 8, and regularly up to 12. Midnight.
I am the ghost of Christmas past. Your past.
Why are you here?
For your good welfare. Rise. Walk with me.
They passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road, with fields on either hand. It was a clear, cold, winter day. Good heaven! I was a boy here! They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate and post and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance, with its bridge, its church, and a winding river. Some shaggy ponies now were seen trotting towards them, with boys upon their backs, who called to other boys in country gigs and carts driven by farmers. All these boys were in great spirits and shouted to each other, until the broad fields were so full of merry music that the crisp air laughed to hear it.
These are but shadows of things that have been.
The jocund travellers came on, and as they came, Scrooge knew and named everyone. Why was he rejoiced beyond all bounds to see them? Why did his cold eye glisten and his heart leap up as they went past? Why was he filled with gladness when he heard them give each other Merry Christmas? What was Merry Christmas to Scrooge? Out upon Merry Christmas, what good had it ever done to him?
The school is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is still left there.
Scrooge said he knew it, and he sobbed. I wish. But it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should have liked to have given him something, that's all. The door opened, and a little girl, much younger than the boy, came darting in and putting her arms about his neck and often kissing him.
Dear brother, I've come to bring you home.
Home, Fanny?
Yes, home. Our father's so kind now. I asked him if you could come home. He said yes. You will never come back here. We will always be together at Christmas.
She was a delicate creature with a large heart.
Yes, you're right.
She died, but I think that she had children.
One child.
True, your nephew.
Yes. Although they had but that moment left the school behind them, they were now in the busy thoroughfares of a city, where shadowy passengers passed and repassed. where shadowy carts and coaches battled for the way, and all the strife and tumult of a real city were. It was made plain enough by the dressing of the shops that here too it was Christmas time. But it was the evening, and the streets were lighted up.
Do you know this place?
Know it? Oh, I apprenticed here. At the sight of an old gentleman in a Welsh wig sitting behind such a high desk that, if he had been 2 inches taller, he must have knocked his head against the ceiling, Scrooge cried out with great excitement, "Why, it's old Fezziwig, bless his heart! It's Fezziwig alive again!" Old Fezziwig laid down his pen and looked up at the clock, which pointed to the hour of 7. He rubbed his hands together, adjusted his capacious waistcoat, laughed all over himself, and called out in a comfortable, oily, rich, fat, jovial voice,
"Yo-ho there! No more work tonight! Christmas Eve, Dick! Christmas, Ebenezer! Let's have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson!"
It was done in a minute. In came a fiddler with a music book and went up to the lofty desk and made an orchestra of it and tuned like 50 stomach aches, and all the young men and women of the house transformed that room into a dance floor. He made us so happy, and the happiness he gave us is worth more than a fortune in gold.
What is the matter?
Nothing in particular.
There is something, I think.
Well, I would like to say a word or two to my clerk, that's all.
My time grows short. We must be quick.
Stave 3, the second of the 3 spirits. Awakening in the middle of a prestigiously tough snore, and sitting up in bed to get his thoughts together, Scrooge had no occasion to be told that the bell was again upon the stroke of 1. A strange voice called to him.
"I am the ghost of Christmas present."
"Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learnt a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it."
Touch my roll.
And there they stood, in the city streets on Christmas morning, where the people made a rough but brisk and not unpleasant kind of music in scraping the snow from the pavement in front of their dwellings and from the tops of their houses, whence it was mad delight to the young boys to see it come plummeting down into the road below and splitting into artificial little snowstorms. There was nothing cheerful in the climate or the town, and yet there was an air of cheerfulness abroad that the clearest summer air and brightest summer sun might have had endeavoured to diffuse in vain. For the people who were shovelling away on the housetops were jovial and full of glee, calling out to one another from the parapets, and now and then exchanging a facetious snowball. The poulterers' shops were still half open, and the fruitiers were radiant in their glory. There were ruddy, brown-faced, board-givered Spanish onions shining in their fatness and their growth, and winking from their shells. There were pears and apples, clustered high in blooming pyramids. There were filberts, mossy and brown, and oranges and lemons. The grocers, the grocers. The scales descended on the counter, made a merry sound. The twine and roller parted company so briskly. The blended scents of tea and coffee were so grateful to the nose. The customers were all so hurried and so eager in the hopeful promise of the day that they tumbled up against each other at the door and crashing their wicker baskets wildly in the best humour possible. They went on into the suburbs of the town, and the good spirit led Scrooge to the clerk's house. And on the threshold of the door, the spirit smiled and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's house with a sprinkle of his touch. Think of that. Bob had but 15 bob a week, and yet the ghost of Christmas present blessed his 4-roomed house. Then up rose Mrs. Cratchit, Cratchit's wife, dressed out but poorly in a twice-turned gown, but brave in ribbons, which are cheap and make a goodly show for 6pence. And she laid the cloth assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of their daughters, also brave in ribbons, whilst Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes, and getting the corners of his monstrous shirt collar, Bob's private property, conferred upon his son and heir in the honour of the day, into his mouth. And now 2 smaller Cratchits, boy and girl, came tearing in, and the young Cratchits danced around the table.
What has ever got your precious father, then? And your brother, Tiny Tim, and Martha?
Here's Martha, Mother.
Here's Martha, Mother.
My dear, how late you are.
We'd a deal of work to finish up last night and had to clear away this morning, Mother.
Well, never mind as long as you are come. Sit ye down before the fire, my dear, and have a warm.
No, there's Father coming. Hide, Martha, hide.
So, Martha hid herself, and in came little Bob, the father, with at least 3 feet of comforter hanging down before him, exclusive of the fringe. And with his threadbare clothes dined up and brushed to look seasonable. And Tiny Tim upon his shoulders. Alas, Tiny Tim bore a little crutch and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
Why, where's our Martha?
Not coming.
Not coming? Upon Christmas Day?
Martha didn't like to see him disappointed, even if it were only in joke. So she came out prematurely from behind the closet door and ran into his arms.
And how did little Tim behave?
As good as gold, and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful, sitting by himself so much, and he thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me, coming home, that he hoped the people saw him in the church, because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Well, a Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us. God bless us, everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
Tiny Tim sat very close to his father's side upon his little stool. Bob held his withered little hand as if he loved the child and wished to keep him by his side and dreaded that he might be taken from him. Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race will find him here. What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Scrooge hung his head to hear his own words quoted by the Spirit and was overcome with penitence and grief. It was a great surprise to Scrooge to hear a hearty laugh. It was a much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew's, and to find himself in a bright, dry, gleaming room, with the Spirit standing smiling by his side, and looking at the same nephew with approving affability. Scrooge's nephew laughed in this way, holding his sides and rolling his head and twisting his face into the most extravagant contortions. Scrooge's niece, by marriage, laughed as heartily as he, and their assembled friends, being not a bit behindhand, roared out lustily.
Yeah. He said that Christmas was a humbug. As I live. He believed it, too.
More shame for him, Fred.
He's a comical old fellow, that's the truth. And not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him.
I'm sure he is very rich, Fred. At least you always tell me so.
What of that, my dear? His wealth is of no use to him. He don't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. I am sorry for him. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself. Always.
Stay for the last of the spirits. The phantom slowly, gravely, silently approached. When it came near him, Scrooge bent down upon his knee, for in the very air from which this spirit moved, it seemed to scatter gloom and mystery. Am I in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come? The spirit answered not, but pointed onward with its hand. You're about to show me shadows of things that have yet not happened, but will happen in time before us. Is that so, spirit? The upper portion of the garment was contracted for an instant in its folds, as if the spirit had inclined its head. That was the only answer he received. Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I'm prepared to bear you company, and do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me? Lead on. The night is waning fast, and it's precious time to me. I know. Lead on, spirit. They scarcely seemed to enter the city, for the city rather seemed to spring up about them and encompass them of its own act. But there they were, in the heart of it, on change amongst the merchants, who hurried up and down and chinked the money in their pockets and conversed in groups, and looked at their watches and trifled with their gold seals, and so forth. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen. Observing that the hand was pointed at them, Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk.
No, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
What has he done with the money?
I don't know. He hasn't left it to me. That's all I know.
It's likely to be a very cheap funeral. I don't know of anybody to go to it.
Suppose we make up a party and volunteer.
I don't mind going if a lunch is provided.
They left the busy scene and went into an obscure part of the town. The ways were foul and narrow, the shops and houses wretched, and the whole quarter reeked with crime, with filth and misery. Far in this den of infamous resort, there was a low-browed beetling shop below a penthouse roof, where iron, old rags, bottles, bones, and greasy offal were bought. Sitting in among the wares that he dealt, by a charcoal stove made of bricks, was a grey-haired rascal, nearly 70 years of age. Scrooge and the Phantom came into the presence of this man, just as a woman with a heavy bundle slunk into the shop. But she had scarcely arrived when another woman, similarly laden, came in too.
He wasn't a good person in his life, so he has nobody to look after him. He's not going to miss a few things. He's a dead man.
No, indeed. Now he can't take these things to the grave with him. Open it and let me know its value.
Bed curtains and blankets. Did you take them while he was dead? In his room?
Yes, I did. Why not? He's not going to catch a cold without them, I'm sure. Look at the blanket. You won't find a hole in it. It's the best he had, and it was going to be wasted. They were going to put it on his dead body. Somebody was foolish enough to do it, but I took it off again.
This is the end of it. He frightened us when he was alive, but now we are profiting from him.
He's a hammer
The scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which, beneath a ragged sheet, there lay something covered up, which, though it was dumb, announced itself in awful language.
These old hammers, hammers, jumpy hammers, hammers. These old hammers, hammers, jumpy hammers, hammers. These old hammers, hammers, big old hammers, hammers, put down, but he won't come near.
The room was very dark, and on that bed, plundered and bereft, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of this man. Oh, cold, cold, rigid, dreadful death! Set up thine altar here and dress it with such terrors as thou hast at thy command. For this is thy domain, but of the loved, revered and honoured head, thou canst not turn one hair to thy dread purpose, or make one feature odious. Spirit, this is a fearful place. I will not forget its lesson. Let us go. Spirit, tell me please, who was the man that was lying dead? Am I the man who lay upon that bed? No, Spirit. Oh, no, no, Spirit, hear me. I'm not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been, but for this intercourse. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Good Spirit, your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me. I will honour Christmas in my heart. I will try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. Oh, the spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me, I may sponge away the writing on this stone. Stave 5, the end of it. Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed and dwindled down into a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own to make amends in. I will live in the past, the present, and the future, and the spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven and Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, oh Jacob, on my knees. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. I'm as giddy as a drunken man. A Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year to all the world. Hello here. Woohoo! Hello! Running to the window and opened it, he put his head out. What's today, my fine fellow?
Why, Christmas Day.
I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. They can do anything they like. Of course they can. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fellow. Do you know the poulterer's shop? The next street but one, at the corner. Do you know whether they sold the prize turkey that's hanging there? Not the little one, the big one.
It's hanging now.
It's hanging there now. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it here, that I may give the direction where to take it. Come back with the man and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes and I'll give you half a crown. I shall send it to Bob Cratchit. He won't know who sent it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. He dressed himself all in his best and at last got into the streets, and walking with his hands behind him, Scrooge regarded everyone with a delightful smile. He had not gone far when coming towards him were the charity collectors, who had walked into his counting house the day before and said, "Scrooge and Marley, I believe." My dear madam, how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you. Merry Christmas to you, madam.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that's my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon. And will you have the goodness of...
Lord bless me. My dear Mr. Scrooge, are you serious?
If you please. Not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included, I assure you. Will you do me that favour?
My dear sir, I don't know what to say to such a
Don't say anything. Please come and see me. Will you come and see me? Thank you. Thank you 50 times. He walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro, and patted children on the head and questioned beggars. He looked down into kitchens and up to the windows and found that everything could yield him pleasure. He had never dreamed that any walk, that anything could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. Fred, it's I, your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred? Let him in? It's a mercy he didn't shake his hand off. It was home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness.
Dashing through the snow in a wild horse open sleigh.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, sir. Would you like one? Please, pass them around. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. There you go. Oh, would you like one? There you go. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh. And little heeded them, for he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, at which some people did not have their fill of laughter. And knowing that such as these would be blind anyway, he thought it quite as well that they should wrinkle up their eyes in grins, as have the malady in less attractive forms. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. He had no further dealings with spirits, and it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that truly be said of us, of all of us. And as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone.